Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning to be alive and a great day to rise and shine wherever you are. My name is Uyai Anekan, and I am super delighted to be here this morning to rise and shine with you once again. Of course, remember to be a part of this community. So I hope you're following us across all our social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng.
Yeah, very important to follow us on all our social media platforms and keep the conversation going. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Rise and Shine once again. Of course, the midweek edition. It's a Wednesday, the third day of May 2023. My name is Janice Cobham. Thank you so much for being a part of our show this morning. Oh yeah, I wanted to say the third day of March. March wanted to come out from my mouth. Like, am I going back to March or something? But
No, it's just
again,
that May and March sounds
sounds
almost
alike, yeah.
So
Really
that
sounds.
could happen. But it's good. We are already journeying. So I was just doing a quick calculation. Oh, the first week in the month of May is almost done. Father, we thank you for this year. We need to say that out loud. But a lot of things are happening in Nigeria. Some are funny.
Yeah.
Because you know how you just read the news and you know that this is meant to be a serious situation, but you just have to laugh because you're like, which way Nigeria. But it's
Fever, in the air all of a sudden towards the 29th of May. Like, what exactly is going to be happening? Of course, I know that nothing is going to cut the democratic process of the country.
course not.
It's been over 20 years and counting, and every hand must be on the plow right now to make sure that we progress as a country. When we look at some of the things happening in other African countries as we speak, Sudan, for example, I don't think that it's what we want Nigerians to go through at this moment.
No matter what is on the table.
Exactly. I was going through the social media and people were like, oh my God, I hope we do not get here as a country. But I must give it to Nigeria and Nigerians. No matter how difficult the situation has been with us as individuals, as a nation, as states, as government in totality, we have not gotten to be here, solve our problems, and move forward as a nation, keeping our unity in diversity together.
It's good that way. And we also hope that the minders of our system can help with the things that are doing, encourage Nigerians to remain this peaceful, because we need it. We can't start running helter-skelter. I mean, countries are giving their values, having evacuated about 2,000 plus of the citizens. A lot of people are fleeing the country, and the two become part of the army. And you're wondering, is this worth dividing an entire country for?
Is it even worth putting the lives of people at stake? And there's so many people that have died and injured and have been displaced at the moment. Is this worth it actually?
And then even if we stretch into the Russia-Ukraine war, you find out that over 20,000, is it over 20,000 Russian soldiers have been killed by the Ukrainian army in I think only this year alone. So you have to see that the invasion of Ukraine has been very intense, and Ukraine has been putting up a very strong fight in some of its regions, trying to literally water down the Russian army. So if you're accounting for just soldiers over 20,000, if my numbers are correct,
what about the citizens?
What about the civilians? Sudan, there has to be peace in the country.
Definitely, there has to be peace in the country. There has to be peace globally as well, because whether we like it or not, there's this interdependence on nations, right? So I remember when the Ukraine-Russian war started and the whole grain issue started also, not having grains around the globe as well. And then we back here in Nigeria, the issue of, our fuel vessels that were supposed to come from either Russia or Ukraine, was stuck up in the sea or something like that. So it also affected a lot more countries, and it just shows that we are interdependent on each other, even as a globe.
No one can stand alone.
No country is an island.
No country is an island, because when you're thinking of eating a BBO, there's a way they say it.
Please go ahead.
Ito isi like bong ikapa akai.
Okay.
Yeah, a tree cannot stand alone and
become a forest.
Yeah. But then let's go to some of our flash stories for this morning. PTA, their verdict is to be given out on May 5. But we see that the House of Representatives yesterday wrote to the United Kingdom government to interfere in the sentencing of the Deputy President of the Nigerian Senate. Now, Wike Ekweremadu and his wife, Beatrice. This followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance raised by a member, Toby Okechukwu, during the plenary session of the House. The lawmakers also pleaded that the UK court temper justice with mercy in the sentencing of the lawmaker and also urged the federal government to take diplomatic steps to intervene in his trial. Now, the House has asked the clerk of the lower legislative chamber to convey their resolutions in writing to the British Embassy, the UK government and the Parliament. Ekweremadu is due to be sentenced on May 5 at the Central Criminal Court, Old Bailey in the UK. Now, Ekweremadu, who is 60, his wife Beatrice 56, after a 6-week trial at Old Bailey. So
yeah, quite a pathetic situation it is. I also remember that sometime in I think early part of last month, yes, early part of last month, we saw the former president of the country, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, also in the bid to plead for clemency for Ekweremadu and his wife Beatrice had to write to the UK government as well. And I remember also him, taking painstakingly, writing about all of his people, and all of that. And we didn't seem to hear the response of the UK government towards the letter that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo had written, pleading for clemency for Ekweremadu. And here we have it. The House of Representatives now writing to the government of the UK to actually look into the matter again and plead for leniency for Ekweremadu, right? We don't seem to also hear the side of the boy in question. It has just gone under the waters, and we're wondering, where's this boy? Where's this child? He's not even a child. He's a grown adult. He's an adult. Yeah, 21 is an adult. Yeah.
So maybe we are looking at the fact that since he is not he's more like the victim. So he must have testified in court in the process.
I'm saying aside from all the testifying and everything,
what next?
What next? We've not heard. We don't even know whether the guy is still in the UK or he's back in the country or what exactly. We seem to just hear about the proceedings of Ekweremadu, his wife, and the doctor.
Most likely he must have been repatriated back to the country, because then he would not have had any strong grounds to still be in the UK.
Passports and documents.
Yes, and all of that. So once they could have gotten his. We also see there is a particular elder statesman in Kaduna that also wrote in response to Chief Olusegun Obasanjo's letter to the UK government. So we are beginning to see, more people try to intervene in the matter. Will the federal government really want to put themselves, because the House of Reps is writing to the federal government to intervene in the matter. Yeah. So we are still keeping our fingers crossed. Will we be sentimental about this, as per if we were to be a normal Nigerian? Would we go to that length to try to get them back to the country or intervene? But then now we're not trying to excuse them of the wrongdoing. Part of the conversation and this plea is, please consider their sick child Sonia, who is still sick at this time and probably has not still found a donor for her condition. Yeah, so it's more like they're pleading on the grounds of parents under duress.
Okay,
for their child.
The child needs the parents to be able to take care of her and all of that too. But again, there was something that it taught an argument is the federal government saying that no, Ekweremadu should not be charged to prison, or they're actually saying let's reduce the number of years is going to be 7, because we hear that I think it's about 10 years that he'll be serving in jail sentence. So I think we need to also know what the federal sentence be reduced to a minimum maybe 1, 2, 3 rather than doing 10 years.
That would be a difficult.
It's a serious one, because if you're saying that, look, let's take off the charges totally.
Yeah.
Come on. I think someone has to like serve some kind of deterrent. But again,
That's
he's been under
and then
custody
you
for
know
so
that
long.
saying repatriating back to the country, let's handle the issue in Nigeria is like,
Oh, we
like
are not.
let,
We are,
that's like let this case disappear. you know so all of that is something else, and sometimes some of these things can be politicized. Remember the fact that Ike Koreemadu is of the People's Democratic Party and not of the APC, so does an APC led government want to defend a party member of another, of
but
the
he's first a
opposition?
Nigerian before he's a party member.
You remember that we politicize everything in the country, including the electric buses that came to Lagos. It might be politicized. So we you don't know, and you know how politicians work. Sometimes the easiest thing is a tool. Anything in their hand is
Becomes
a
a
tool.
tool, a political
Exactly.
tool.
So governments that is straightforward, especially with our lead man, I mean President Muhammadu Buhari, is that whoever has done wrong should pay.
Integrity, Mr. Integrity. Just like the issue of $1.2 million for buses
Yeah.
that would bring back Nigerians from Sudan, and we've not seen any Nigerian birthed in Sudan from
Charlie, don't
Sudan to
remind us.
Nigeria since then. Yeah, please let's take our major stories.
Okay, this is something. Literally, like I said, sometimes the country is laughable. Like
Yeah,
when you see all these kids successfully till
till
now.
now, when we have the Nigerian Air Force jets, somewhere
In
in
Egypt.
Aswan,
Yeah.
Egypt, waiting to airlift those people back to Nigeria. We also have the Air Peace also waiting and all of that. But we just hope that with the ceasefire now that has elapsed, we don't know how that airlifting will happen. But again, we're just keeping our fingers crossed.
The political bride is still glowing in his glory. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has declared today, the 3rd of May, a public holiday for Rivers State people to celebrate Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, over a 2-day visit to the state. Now, he said in his statement, I hereby declare Wednesday, 3rd May 2023, a public holiday to enable the people of Rivers State to receive our president-elect in a rousing welcome. Now, all shop and business premises along Rumola to Rumokuta roads in Obiokpo local government area of the state shall remain closed from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd May 2023. He urges all labor unions and security agencies to comply with this closure order. Now, Tinubu during the visit is scheduled Wednesday and the day after. Now, Wike, in a state broadcast on Tuesday, said it is an honor to the government and people of Rivers State to host the president-elect on this historic visit. Now, consequently, I urge all Rivers citizens to come out en masse to receive our president-elect and display the traditional Rivers hospitality as he commissions these legacy projects to God's glory and advancement of our development. Remember, if you remember what the words of Nyesom Wike when he was questioned about why he supported the APC.
Calling for a public holiday. Now, this has actually caused a lot of mixed reactions from Nigerians. Why a public holiday just because the president-elect is coming to to Rivers State? But some people are of the opinion that this is more like Wike paying allegiance, to the president-elect. But let's take a listen to this particular video.
Mission landmark projects in Rivers State. For us, it's an honor to the government and people of Rivers State to host the President-elect Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu and display the traditional Rivers hospitality as he commissions these legacy projects to God's glory and advancement of our development. Given this, I hereby declare Wednesday, 3rd of May 2023, a public holiday to enable the people of Rivers State to receive our president-elect rousingly. Furthermore, all shops and business premises along Rumola to Rumukuta roads in Nobiabo local government area of the state shall remain closed from 8 a.m. with this closure order. Once again, I call on Rivers people to come out in great numbers and give our amiable president-elect a rousing welcome during his visit. Either flag off or commission landmark projects in Rivers State. For us, it's an honor to the government and people of Rivers State to host the president-elect on this historic visit. Consequently, I urge all Rivers citizens to come out en masse to receive our president-elect, His Excellency Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and display the traditional Rivers hospitality as he commissions these legacy projects to God's king to enable the people of Rivers State to receive our president-elect thousandly. Furthermore, all shops and business premises along Rumola to Rumukuta roads in Nobiabo local government area of the state shall remain closed from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of May, 2023. I urge all labor unions and security agencies to comply.
I call on River State people to come out en masse and give our president-elect all the support. Well, we would say that, yes, this is the governor of a state, giving respect, to the president-elect. Let's not also forget, during the presidential elections, Nyesom Wike was one person that, quietly stood for
their
thank you delivered. Delivered their units, delivered his constituency, and Obiakpo, which is the local government area of Nyesom Wike, was what brought about the turning point in all of the elections that followed suit. We know that counting the results, the Labour Party was actually winning in Rivers State, but all of that. So would we say that Governor Nyesom Wike asking for a public holiday in Rivers State is him going over the board just to make sure that he pleases Bola Ahmed Tinubu? And also that Wike is one person that would not want to lose his relevance, whether he has finished his term as governor in Rivers State or not. He still wants to stay relevant. He's doing right now. But again, how do you declare a public holiday just to receive the president-elect? So it means that you're shutting down the whole economy of the state just to receive the president-elect. Does that make sense in any way?
Well, one might say it's a little far stretched because you're looking at 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. when the dusk of day, would have risen and people would have made their money. Are there sanctions on people that refuse to obey that call because it's like a crime?
Definitely.
So that's just one of the issues. But then again, a public holiday, I think if I would, I like to do English interpretation of issues. So if I would interpret with the use of English, he said the particular area where the commissioning will be done. So we are expecting to not see businesses open in that particular area, which means in other parts of Rivers State, people might as well just continue with their activities. But for that particular, room or quarter area, there should not be any business.
Rivers State.
So the way he said is for the entire state. But I'm saying that when you interpret it smaller, we can just say that, okay, we're asking businesses in this particular area where the event is going to be happening to, shut down their businesses for the time being. Whereas you're also asking that, the people of Rivers State should come out en masse. We can come out en masse without shutting down our businesses, for the day. But at the end of the day, we try to make some things larger than life, making the fact that it's calling for a public holiday such a big issue. Maybe the twist and the twist to this is the fact that he's doing, as a PDP governor, he's doing this for the APC presidential elect. But we already know where the guys are legion.
In the beginning, he did not, his body language wasn't tilting towards that angle. Remember also that initially he had said that he was going to mention the name of who he is going to be his preferred candidate. I think January 1 or something. January 1.
It was a date.
No, he said January 1. Was it January?
No, he just said in January. Then he came out and asked all of you, asking, did I say, he was going to be a particular day? This kind of thing. Nyesom Wike is just a man in his own class.
Definitely.
But, some of the questions that will now, sprout out of that is that in the day and time, I don't know if you've also noticed that there's a lot of push for suspend one of theirs, and the man is saying you cannot suspend me. All of those inter-party activities. But then we are wondering so far so good. We've not also seen quite an attempt by the People's Democratic Party to suspend Nyesom Wike for all of this. The man is still just thriving, going his way.
I know that sometime last year there was the talks of a suspension where he came out and blatantly said nobody can suspend him. But when you even talk about suspending a man like Nyesom Wike left the party, more like there was some sort of abandonment of the People's Democratic Party, and Nyesom Wike was more like the heavyweight, the backbone of the party, and brought the party from where it was as at 2014 to where it is now. And it is difficult to like suspend such stakeholders in the party, but he is blatantly involved in anti-party at this point, and nobody seems to be talking about that angle where you're in a particular party and you're voting for somebody else in another party. Now let's also maybe he would be basing his has not been able to come to the table of dialogue to see that the demands of the G5 governors have been met. So Nyesom Wike could be acting on that ground,
but is that still necessary? Especially because we see that the People's Democratic Party did not win the elections. So does that really still hold sway?
It to an extent it does, because when you say if you begin to ask questions like it doesn't hold sway anymore, that means the issues that were raised in the first place have been trashed, but those issues haven't been trashed yet.
And especially so when we're also looking at the continuation of the party as it were, so that it doesn't even repeat in the next cycle of elections.
I think a lot more harm has been done in the People's Democratic Party, but party in the country. But of course, the people of Rivers State will be enjoying a public holiday today, because
that's like how many public holidays in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks,
remember our guest that came and was
it's unproductive.
It was really frowning at the whole public holiday thing. We've had public holidays back to back in the last 1 month.
Yes,
but well, I don't know. And in that capacity, traveling around, getting certain things done. But then we move on from that story, and I think this one is a funny twist. Today's stories for me, all of them are hilarious in one way or the other. Now, moving back to the supplementary elections that was held in Adamawa State, we are seeing the fact that the suspended resident electoral commissioner REC in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa Ari, has said he does not regret announcing Aisha Binani as the winner of the state governorship election. Now, on April 16, Mr. Ari had allegedly usurped powers of the returning officer to announce Mrs. Binani as the winner of the governorship election. At the time Mr. Ari made the declaration, only 10 out null and void, asking Mr. Ari to stay away from the office. Now, speaking during an interview with newsmen yesterday, the suspended REC denied collecting bribe to make the announcement. I didn't ask Binani and Fentiwi for a single penny, he quoted, he's quoted from his statement. It is against my religion to collect money from someone to help him do anything, and I swear to God. Now he claims that, claims that I was offered 2 billion are just, 2 billion naira rather, are just baseless allegations and rumors. Where will I take 2 billion naira to? He's asking all of us. So he says now all of that information was on the social media. Now asked if he regretted his thing. You do. According to the law, you won't regret it. Aisha Binani won the election and everything was clear on the result sheet, Mr. Ari added.
Well, serious concerns, I would say. He is very he's very confident in the things that he has said. He does not regret his action. He does not regret announcing Aisha Binani as the winner of the Adamawa supplementary elections, and of course the winner of the elections generally in Adamawa Guba elections. But again, is it that there are information that he pitched, to the fact that Binani had won the elections? But again, when he's talking about doing things according to the law by right as well, and the same law he's quoting, it is not his duty, to announce the winner of an election. Rather, it is the returning officer that has the powers to do so. So in that regard, he has also acted against the law as well. But again, I think that more interrogation should be done If he feels that Aisha Binani actually won, he says that the results are there, they are glaring, for everyone that Aisha Binani won the elections. And that's by providing proofs. It's as simple as that. Provide proofs and then let them match it with what Fintiri came out with and see where the lapses are. And then, of course, these issues like what's the name of Mahmoud Yakubu now would say, the INEC national chairman would say, go to court. Let's go to court and contest the results and see if who between Binani and Fintiri actually won the Adamawa polls elections.
It's just a funny situation. Of course, he also spoke yesterday about the fact that he did not go into hiding as speculated.
But he was looked for.
Yes, and then he promises to honor the invitation that the police has made for him to come. Now, he cited that he had written a letter to INEC, which they said they wouldn't accept, but he's sure they have accepted, and the invitation sent by the police is mandatory for him to honor. So we seem to see Ari standing from, there's such audaciousness with his standpoint, the fact that I wasn't wrong and I do not regret it. The police invitation, I am going to honor it, and I did not go into hiding, and all the likes.
But again, when he's even all local government results were collated, 10 out of 20, why didn't you wait for the other 10 to be collated properly before you even come out to make an announcement? And then again, are you the rightful person to make such announcement? Why usurp the powers of the returning officer?
Well, yesterday, the Nigeria Police Force actually did pick up Yunusa Ari. Now, the Miwa Adejobi, the force spokesperson, said in an evaluation team in Abuja yesterday. Now, he's currently in police custody and is being grilled to ascertain the motives and motivations behind his alleged improper action during the supplementary elections in Adamawa State. Of course, other officials and individuals culpable in the saga are being interrogated by the team. The Inspector General of Police has given clear assurance that every individual involved, indicted in the matter, will be apprehended and investigated. Well, so that's where that story has developed.
Definitely, we'll definitely be following up on that particular story there. I know that this is a very interesting story that lots of Nigerians are interested in. Of course, we want to know who, is giving Yunusa the backing that he has at this moment, to come out and say that he does not regret his actions and he still stands by what he had done, during the supplementary elections, announcing Binani as winner. So we'll keep our fingers crossed to that information as it unfolds. We just hope that the police will do us some good and dig in properly into the matter. Most times we see that issues are not properly dogged and investigated upon, and that's why you see that yes, we get to follow through, but at some point lots of Nigerians are just lost in between what exactly is happening. We don't get to hear the stories anymore, or even know what exactly happened at the tail end of it. But I think that's the much we'll be able to take on our conversations this morning. We'll head up now to the news brief desk, and when we come back, Freedom Day today. And of course, you know that we have our daily spotlights where we get to share information or stories on the front pages of our national dailies. So do stay with us. We'll be back shortly after the news brief.
only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
As of government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Labour voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the license taken to county.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your Spectrum live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph of Affordable Housing. Appraising his performance in the office during the inauguration of a housing estate in Zuba, Abuja, the president claimed that the new housing estate was addressing multi-dimensional poverty among the citizens. Away from that, the Abia State House of Assembly has dismissed the purported impeachment of her Speaker Chindudem Orji by some members of the House led by its former Deputy Speaker Ifeanyi Uchendu. This was made public during a plenary session of the House presided by Orji on Tuesday. A video which was now gone viral on social media emerged on Tuesday morning where some members of the House sat in an undisclosed location, reportedly impeached the Speaker and the elected Chukwudi Akpugo as the new Speaker. In a separate development, the House of Representatives has urged the Central Criminal Court, his wife Beatrice Ekweremadu, and a UK-based Dr. Obinna Obeta. The call for clemency by the House was sequel to the anonymous adoption of a motion of urgent public importance by the Deputy Minority Leader, Toby Okechukwu, titled Motion on the Need for Clemency for Senator Ekweremadu. Heading out to the foreign information about Ukraine's war effort before the news broke into the media last month. The embarrassing security breach revealed U.S. unease about a coming counter-offensive by Kiev forces against Russian troops, as well as concerns about Ukraine air defenses. And finally, in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo became the world's highest paid athlete after his move to Saudi Arabian side. Al Nassr nearly doubled his annual playing salary, which Paris Saint-Germain duo Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe round off the top three, according to Forbes. Ronaldo, who joined the Saudi club on a deal until 2025 after leaving Manchester United last year, earned 136 million and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government. Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Labour voting for Spectrum TV to improve for the license taken to county.
Former President Olusegun of outstanding and superlative performance in the last 8 years. Speaking during the event, Obasanjo, who described Dudum as a performer and a result-oriented leader, charged the incoming administration to leverage on the good infrastructure in the state and invest in other sectors of the economy, like agriculture, to enhance the economy of the state.
To me, success is making a place better than you find it. And you have made the whole of Akwa Ibom state. But again, success has another part. Success without good successful becomes a big hollow. And what you said to me is what has happened, which is capacity to, ability to, predictability. And Governor-elect, I congratulate you. I congratulate the governor. I congratulate
Quarters for the Chief Judge of the state on the 29th of this month, just before the swearing-in of the new governor. The governor also assured that the MRO, second runway, and new terminal building at the Victor Ota International Airport will soon be ready for inauguration before he leaves office. Governor Emmanuel, however, noted that many other projects in the health, education, and power sectors, as well as other road infrastructures, which are at different stages of completion, will be completed and inaugurated by the incoming administration within its first 100 days in office.
We're also trying to let the whole world know that when we said that we worked to the last day before we hand over the baton to the next governor, who will run a marathon race as if he's running a 100-meter race, because there are still a whole lot of projects, some at 90, some at 95, some at 80. And I would have just, but they said they can't put asphalt under the rain at the speed that I wanted. So once we have August break, they will asphalt the remaining areas, and then that will also be commissioned. And so many other projects. Not only roads, we have so many hospitals, power, education, so many that we need to commission. Chief Judge of this state, before now, the Chief Judge had never gotten an official residence.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Of course, we bring you great conversation. We just left Mary Joseph, who brought us tidbits of global news. Some of the conversations we've already had in Rise and Shine, we saw that the House of Reps has recently the United Kingdom authorities and government too. Of course, their verdict is to be reeled out on May 5. We also saw that Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has declared today a public holiday just for them to be able to welcome the president-elect Bola Siwaju Tinubu in the state today for some commissioning. Then, of course, the Adamawa supplementary elections, the REC, Yunusa Ari says he does not regret announcing Mrs. Binani as the governor, as the winner of the supplementary elections. These and more are some of the conversations we've had. At this point, we move straight up to our Spotlight Dailies, where we bring you stories from the front pages of a national daily.
Daily Spotlight this morning. We look at some of the major stories on the front pages of our national dailies, and we'll start with the Punch newspaper. So many stories on the front pages this morning. Quite interesting stories, and
different ones again.
Different ones,
well, like
actually. Okay, the Punch newspaper, the big story here says Tinubu's victory. Legal battle begins Monday as tribunal hears petitions. The writer says APC expresses readiness as it is aware of hearing dates. PDP, Atiku will emerge victorious, I beg your pardon. Legal team tells Nigerians. And you can find the story on page. Bajabiamila orders probe. I have delivered on change agenda, says Buhari. Ogun Rep-elect. Activists clash in traffic over broken car mirror. Okay. 792 Nigerians abducted in first quarter, says a relocation. Oh, wow. Controversial Adamawa reg detained in Sis Binani won polls. And we also have that deadly noodles. NAFDAC takes probe to factories and markets. And that's all the stories that we have on the front page.
In police net, questioned, detained over illegal announcement of APC candidate as winner of election. He went there voluntarily. Okay, so how do you say he was arrested in some quarters and he went there voluntarily? These are the issues with the use of English. All right, then we see again Imo Monarch commends subject for support. Nea Kalu, that's commissioning, page 26 is where you can find the story. Reps, ECOWAS writes UK government seek clemency for Ekwere Madu wife. Foreign minister, others summoned over evacuation of Nigeria companies to deliver healthcare expansion plan, page 2. NGE task incoming government on press freedom, safety of journalists, promises to engage authorities on review of watch list over cyber crimes, page 25. The last story here says we must not give up on new Nigeria, says Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. You can find the story on page 23, and that's all we have on the front page of Daily Sun.
Our next paper this morning is the Nigerian Tribune. Of course, we have that the big story here says Adamawa wreck in police custody, and the writer says all the fingered officials under interrogation. Page 3 is where you get details of that story. Y30, let's move forward now. 200% pay rise demand not outrageous. Federal government can afford it, says resident doctors. Abia lawmakers remove Speaker Ikpeazu intervenes. NSRA launches 2 companies to deliver healthcare expansion plan. Additional excise increase may cause illicit trade. Industry recession layoff, says man. And on Ekwere Madu now, temper justice with mercy. Reps apply to appeal to UK government. 10th National Assembly, PDP, Labour Party, others split over APC's zoning plan. All the stories that we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
Moving on from the Nigerian Tribune this morning, we'll go straight ahead to take the Nation newspaper. Big story there. Adamawa still. Police quizzed, detained wreck INEC commissioners. Yunusa Ari gives self up at Force headquarters, says, I have no regret. First batch of Nigerians expected from Sudan today. That sounds like the upteenth time we are hearing it. And we see here that 1,350 arrived in Port Sudan, 5,500 taken out of Khartoum. House leadership meets ministries, agencies. Okay, we also have here 57.4 million BVNs linked to bank accounts, 7,500 on the watch list. Obi admits making phone call to Oyedepo, my UK airport experience. Page 5. Okay, that's a new twist. NSIA launches firm to deliver healthcare expansion plan. Page 6. Zenith Bank shareholders get 100.47 naira dividend. Page 11. Wike declares holiday for Tinubu's visit. Reps seek clemency for Ekwere Madu. Senate probes passport renewal issuance delay. And these are all the stories that we have here. JAM releases UTME results. Driver who slammed bus into train in Lagos remanded. Those are all the stories that we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Okay, quite interesting stories, I must say. You can pick up any copy of the National Dailies and get the juice of the gist. But we see that a lot is happening, and quite interestingly as well, when we talk about the inauguration, like we said in the earlier on this morning, I said there's just this fever, you know, moving forward to the 29th of May and the inauguration and the whole transition process. But here we see that the legal battles will begin on Monday, which is next week. I think that will be the 8th of May now. So a lot of Nigerians are going to be looking forward to the court and, you know, try to see how the court proceedings will go through. And more like the last hope of the Nigerian man now is, you know, the judicial system. What will be the results at the end of the day? I think that's where the worry of most Nigerians will be at this moment. But then again, the truth of the matter is whether there is, you know, legal battle for the presidency or not, there is going to be an inauguration on May 29.
Oh yes, President Muhammadu Buhari has said that inauguration remains sacrosanct. Nothing.
Let's do that.
Of course, if they're just starting on Monday. And so inauguration on May 29 is sacrosanct. Yeah. But several things, of course, we've already handled the issue about the Adamawa State INEC reg. Of course, he's currently being detained at the force headquarters and being questioned. But then let's remind you, our phone lines are being displayed on the screen, so you can feel free to call in and make your contribution. This is the Nigerian Man segment. Let's make your contribution on the issues. What do you think about the new Ari? He is still bold about the fact that he, you know, Binani won the election in Adamawa State, and he does not regret making that announcement. We also have
that. I think most interestingly as well, I'm going to congratulate you know, the Speaker of the House of Reps now, Femi Gbajabiamila, for saying that, look, for all there is what, you know, with the issue of the Sudan evacuation and the $1.2 billion that was, you know, sunk into getting buses, and till the point that Nigerians have not been able to come back, Nigerians stranded in Sudan have not been able to come back, there should be a probe. Yes, somebody should be telling us what exactly is happening, because we can't have all those monies sunken into trying to bring Nigerians that are stranded and willing to come back home. And then you're saying that is one problem or the other, and all of that. It doesn't make sense at all at this moment.
It doesn't.
It's really a welcome development. Yes,
on their part, especially because we already had issues with how much was quoted for the evacuation, and in all of these days, you know, the first bus is yet to deliver Nigerians to, you know, its destination. Why? There's a lot of mismanagement of things in our country. That is why we are where we are, you know, currently in this country. Of course, we see that Abia lawmakers remove Speaker Ikpeazu intervene. So there's just a lot of things here. We've handled the Ekweremadu issue already. It's on most pages of our national dailies also this morning. Big issues. APC says they're ready for the hearing date. So whatever comes, they are ready. They have all their papers in order.
Yeah, so all their evidences, you know, to prove that they actually won the elections. Yeah. But I must say that interesting times are ahead, you know, and then we have the PDP that are already saying that they won the elections and all of that. And of course, let's not forget that Labour Party is by the corner, also demanding for a stolen mandate and all. So quite interesting times, I would say, in the country as it stands right now. But at this point, let's just take a quick breather, and we'll bring you reports on World Press Freedom Day. And when we come back, of course, we'll be coming back with our guest this morning to talk about how you know, the challenges that journalists are actually facing. Yes, serious challenges that we are facing and the way forward. And most importantly, even the importance of journalism or journalists in a country. We'll be right back. Do stay with us.
Celebrated annually on May 3rd is the World Press Freedom Day. The day is aimed at celebrating the fundamental principles of press freedom, evaluating the level of press freedom around the world, defending the media from attacks on their independence, and to pay tribute to journalists who have lost their lives.
And also suggest way forward to ensuring that we have the rights and privileges of journalists. And like I said, we are not there yet, though we have achieved a lot regarding those areas that we've not gotten for the past years.
Over the years, we've been selecting very timely teams to celebrate the World Press Freedom Day. And each year we celebrate or mark it, we get closer to our goals. We are not there yet, but we are somewhere very significant. We are where we would not have been if we had not consciously done our best to celebrate or mark these days on annual basis. So I feel we are somewhere, we're not there yet, but we've made a very significant milestone as professionals.
The fight for the freedom journalists desire to do their job. It's a continuous fight, and no Nigerian government, and though there was a signing into law of the Freedom of Information Act, where you can actually seek for any information you need from government agency. That has been done at the national level, but various or many states of the federation are yet to domesticate that law in their states, and so it becomes difficult for journalists in those states to actually demand for any other government agency and then demand to know information, and then you're given. So for me, the press freedom and the rights for journalists to do their job effectively is still not a total realization, and so we are still fighting, and that's why the World Press Freedom Day comes up every year to remind government of the need to allow journalists to express themselves responsibly within the ambit of the law.
With the aim of the World Press Freedom Day marked annually on the 3rd of May, has the objective been fully achieved?
Every year on May 3, we gather as journalists to celebrate press freedom, because we know that we have moved away from the days that the press was gagged, where the media was not allowed to carry out its responsibility as the fourth estate of the realm, the watchdog of the society. And we used to read the number of journalists being tortured or detained because of carrying out their duties, which is to inform, to search for information and disseminate same.
Beginning from us in this part of the world, I would not really say it is that much anymore. We have also recorded significant reduction, but we pursue our rights, and when we hear of issues of attack, we follow such cases to a logical conclusion. That's where we'll be able to get to a desired goal.
The fight for the freedom journalists desire to do their job, it's a continuous fight, and no end in sight for now, because the total freedom that journalists need to exercise their civic responsibility.
Human rights signifies the enabling element of freedom of the press as a foundation to democracy and justice.
Shaping the right of freedom of rights, freedom of speech as a means to the end. It's just the beginning. The moment you begin to accept that the media has a responsibility to have the freedom of speech, you begin to have the understanding of a smooth relationship between the government and the media. So this is just the beginning, this is just the foundation. And I'm happy that this is coming at the 30th anniversary, and the theme is also significant, and it's going to build a new orientation in the practice. Also, we will be able to ensure that they also respect the rights of journalists.
The year 2023 marks the 30th anniversary of the World Press Freedom Day, 3 decades since it was proclaimed in 1993. So far, there's been a substantial progress towards achieving a free press.
The biggest event in the calendar of every journalist globally is the World Press Freedom Day. And significantly, this year's edition will be the 30th anniversary after the United Nations made that declaration in 1993, following the death of some journalists in faraway Africa here, where they came to do an investigation. And you know the challenges. So 30 years after, it gives us a very great opportunity for the media to have a reassessment of how information, the rights, the challenges between the media and state actors, and above all, the prospects for the future.
The production of independent medias in many countries and the rise of digital technologies have enabled the free flow of information. But media freedom, safety of journalists, and freedom of expression are increasingly under attacks.
The essence of the World Press Freedom Day is very apt and very important because every day the job keeps becoming hazardous. The job of the journalist is seen by those that it affects as adversarial, and because of this, the people react in different ways. We've seen bills like the social media bill that was taken to the National Assembly. These are efforts to gag the media, and some journalists have been harassed. We've had cases where journalists have been harassed or beaten. So the need for investigative journalism. Those that are doing investigative journalism are in the hiding because of how dangerous it is for them. The society does not know how to accept criticism. And once journalists come out with very balanced reports, they feel it is an attack on them.
Giving us freedom of press, giving us our rights of information, getting into information, and then not being attacked for rescue. Perhaps what we are doing is the right thing. So we should have that kind of...
Given the enough ground to carry out their duty. Material says, and so press freedom, but we are getting there very soon. And we still hope there will come a time a government, any threat or anything.
All right, welcome back. Of course, today is 3rd of May, and the world over, it is being celebrated as World Press Facing Us and all of that. But these and more are going to be the conversations we are going to be looking at today. The importance of journalists in our country or state. We're also going to be looking at the challenges that journalists face in executing their jobs. Barrister Clifford Thomas, who is a lawyer, a journalist himself, and of course the coordinator at Akwa Human Rights Community. Many thanks for joining us once again, Barrister Clifford Thomas.
Well, good morning, Janice. Good morning, Oyai.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, viewers out there. Law did not actually make me who I am. Law merely came to drop the icing on the cake. But journalism gave me everything I needed in life. Gave me lands.
Now, before you even go to how far, how well, Uyai, did you hear that? Gave him cars, houses, lands. Uyai, where's ours?
My wife and children.
Wife and children, Uyai.
It's come back. It has to be a matter of faith.
Oh my God!
We need to get there, but I'm sure he's also talking about length of.
They tell you, oh, just go by the roadside. If you don't have money, tell them you're a journalist, and they'll take you for free. You have passion for your job, and you're asking, is passion going to be paying you and all of that?
There must be a reward
yes.
for every job. Even Jesus did not come to die without a reward. The Bible says, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, he despised the shame. So for the joy of his labor.
Yeah, definitely.
This is making journalism sound like an oil well. Now we say content creation is a type of.
Sub 2 says you have the right to establish any medium that will purvey information to the generality of the public. Yeah. And if we did not enjoy that right, we wouldn't have Planet FM, we wouldn't have Spectrum, we won't have tanks, we won't have other private stations. And that's one right we have enjoyed so much, even though there are defamation and all of that. Journalism is a sweet thing. In fact, I'll encourage as many people as possible to study that anyone practicing journalism has. Forget the hazards, forget the problems, but the reward are quite enormous, because the first role of a journalist is to inform, which most people don't see. Even the journalists find it difficult to believe. It's agenda setting. Yeah. The journalists must help in setting agenda. There's a new government coming in. What too delicate to be left in the hands of politicians. The journalists must also help in shaping agenda. We are the ones that go around, we are on ground as journalists. We go around communities to see how bad those communities are. They don't have roads or they didn't have toilets. Yet you had more than 500,000 people coming in and out of the market every month, and yet you don't have standard toilet facilities, no water reticulation and all of that. So we are the ones that see these things and bring it to government and say, look, in this community we don't have this. Why can't this government try to do something in this direction? And when are so insensitive and myopic, and they don't have the heart for the people, they turn around and say, you're insulting them. You're insulting them. You are saying nonsense. That is the agenda setting role of the journalist. But that agenda setting role will put you.
A society. And when you begin to say, oh, we are the fourth estate of the realm, maybe you have to break down those things for a lot more people to understand where we are coming from when we say that journalists are the fourth estate of the realm. They're supposed to be plain. You have said agenda setting, but aside from agenda setting, what do we need to do as journalists?
Well, journalists as a fourth estate, journalism as a fourth estate of the realm. The realm is a virtual thing, which the judiciary. That's the third estate of the realm.
Yes.
So journalists or journalism must help to drive the process. A society without a free press is a dead society. It's a society that will abuse rights. We'll go back to the basics and say, look, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights says this about the freedom of press. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights says this about freedom of the press. The Nigerian Constitution says this about human rights. And this is freedom of the press. And you take it, this is what we think is, this is what we think should be. Also, that's the fourth estate of the realm. Without journalism, the first three estates of the realm cannot operate. It can't function very well. Now, in civil society, we say that civil society rests on a three-prong pot, an outstanding role to play, which makes it the fourth prong of the pot. So instead of the pot having three legs, 1, 2, 3, the pot now has 1, 2, 3, 4, and can balance very well without shaking. So without journalism, the society is unsafe, is brutish, is short, and life there can be abused or destroyed anytime. Now, for journalists, who is a journalist?
Exactly.
A journalist is somebody who is trained and possibly have certification, as we have these days. By 1991, before 1991, you could practice with school set. But by 1991, they set the minimum standard to be OND. OND, that even when I started practicing in 1991, Lagos, and then came to you, you notice that some persons who even have the love or the passion for journalism, but yet don't have media qualification, they are encouraged to go back to school. You have the IIJ, International Institute of Journalism. Uyo campus is doing a great job. I don't know whether they're still doing it now, but Uyo campus is doing a great job. It's training everybody who has a first degree to take up a PGT in journalism. And you start, journalism is a practical thing. It's not what you just begin to teleport and say, oh, it's, you begin to bring out, what's it called now, theories. No, it goes beyond theorizing. Journalism is a practical thing. How do you approach person while he's talking? Do you listen? Do you pay close attention? So there are, aside from, especially when the person has to educate the masses. That's why it's called mass media. No, so journalism is not just a one-on-one thing, but there are other aspects of journalism. Public relations is part of it. Media relations.
Having gotten that particular balance of what journalism is and represents in our day and time. Let's talk about how journalism has fared and journalists have fared in the 8 years of the Buhari-led administration. He has given his statement, of course, this felicitating with journalists in the country and the world over. But something that he said that caught my attention in his statement is the fact that during his 8-year tenure, journalists were not victimized in the country. That is something he mentioned in his statement. So I want you to give us an overview of the Buhari-led administration. What are your thoughts? Do you think that journalists and media men and women were able to have the free hand to carry out their work as it ought to be?
And maybe we just link it up with Akwa Ibom too, and see how journalists have fared in Akwa Ibom State.
Well, journalists have not fared better in this regime. In 8 years of Buhari's administration, that's why the Punch and Sahara reporters will call him General Muhammad Buhari. The Decree 2 of 1984, Decrees 2 and 4 of 1984, were brought back in Buhari's regime control of the broadcast institutions. And they call it, the NBC will excessively control you. The fines on media houses, they've got the press. Look, it takes sheer courage for Nigerian media houses to report the truth. Report it, publish, and be damned. And they have chosen to be damned. They place this thing, what's it called now, a fine on China's television. And other stations are free. Get a call from the DSS. The anchors are invited to come and make statements. The guest is required to make statements. So it's not been free. It's not been as rosy as we think. But there's been a liberalization. And that liberalization is because of the demand by Nigerians. Not that the government just wholeheartedly said, oh, take on a platter of gold. So Nigerians have fought and have earned what level of freedom of express they have had so far. Well, if you compare that, bring it down to Akwa Ibom, I wouldn't say the press has fared better either. There's been a couple of cases of defamation here for saying one, which is actually everywhere. It's not just Akwa Ibom, it's in Nigeria. But the governor of Akwa Ibom State has been very tolerant. He has no choice. Has been very tolerant. And we need a responsible press. We need a responsible press. You can't just begin to bring out defamatory content as insults. Why do some comments appear as insults? The private life of the president, of the governor, of any public officer is his private life. And he has a right to his private life. But I think journalism will need more education, though there are emerging issues. The plethora of rights canvassed by journalists around the whole world does not take into cognizance our social and economic or political milieu. What is our cultural background? Do we respect elders? Yes, we do. When elders do wrong, how do we approach the elders? Respectfully. You approach the elders behind and do memos. When I was in my active years of journalism, I used to do memos. I did memos to Obongota, I did memos to Gosul Akpabio. Even though most often they didn't reply me directly, but I saw the change, the response to that memo, to those memos.
Okay, so before we even get to what we are missing, the missing link in current day journalism and the kinds of journalists that we have today, let's even look back at what the social media is doing to gag and bring about hate speech and all of
fake
that.
News?
Social media.
It's the government. It's not social media. It's the government that started fake news.
But we have a whole lot of fake news on social media. You remember the salt bath.
Is the federal government not using social media? So who are the purveyors of fake news?
Okay, we are taking it back to 2015 with all of the propaganda against them. Good luck, Abella Jonathan.
Look, my sister, active proponents, active participants in government. Let me show you something. You gag the press, that the press cannot speak from its mouth. It will speak through other orifices. And other orifices could be the anus, and the air that comes out from there is not palatable, it's smelly. So that is what is happening to the media. If you don't gag the press will say the truth. Now, somebody is alleged to have been involved in fraud, and you write to the person, speak to the person, and the person begins to threaten you. That's been a lot of journalists. They begin to on the health ministry. As a journalist and as a CSO, active CSO participator, you won't believe that they told me, if you don't let off this questioning, we'll get you killed. So
point blank to the face.
Straight to my face. The people are not happy when you begin to dig deep. So they begin to propagate information. I interviewed a local government chairman in this state, and the man, when I published it, 2 full pages, the man came out to say that he doesn't know me, he has never seen me before, he has never met me. Unfortunately for him, I wired myself before going. I had him full video. So an investigative journalist should have his gadgets. I had my button camera. As he was talking, I was recording him. I had my midget with me. So when we finished, when I proved to him that he interviewed me, he granted me interview, the man said I should have done public relations for him. I told him, I'm not your staff. I was so the when you look at the traditional media, and which is the mainstream media, and social media, you notice that social media has made the traditional media to sit up. It will take time. It will take time for the traditional media to publish in 24 hours. Even the traditional media has also joined social media. As the news is reported, they are publishing. That's what they are doing now. So we owe social media a whole world of thank you, a whole world of gratitude for letting the traditional media to sit up. The traditional media will take time. In fact, those days you are in the field with somebody from VOA or BBC, and you are trying person will sit down, they type his stories, send. And while you are still struggling to send your story, you hear the story on BBC. You hear it on BBC, and that is what our traditional, social media is doing to traditional media. Because as the story is breaking, these days nobody helps anybody who is dying.
Everybody brings out their phone.
Dying, they bring out their phones and start shooting, start filming. Before they finish filming, the person is dead. But they report what happened. You get it live as it happens. Yes, it has everything that has advantage has a disadvantage. Marriage is sweet, but it's also so thorny, so terrible. And having children is good, but when they give you headache, you regret having them. So everything that has advantage has a disadvantage. One of the disadvantages of the
social media
is that once events are reported ethically, once every Dick, Tom, and Harry who has a phone, an Android phone or a phone that is internet enabled, can publish anything, including fake stories, and even this viewers' discretion, the caveat, viewers' discretion is advised. It's no longer there. So people just film anything and send. There's no control. And because there's no control, people don't want to comply with the traditional ethics of those who will complain most about social media will be those in government. Because what they used to hide, social media is exposing. And because social media has beaten them. It's either they wake up to act well or they die.
Okay, so another question I'll ask now, because some of these conversations gives us the opportunity to up crop of guys such as we that you have on the platform. What is the disparity in how journalism was practiced back in the day? We had the likes of Ken Saro, we had
Delegiwa, and even Peter Inahoro that just died
of recent. Some of those years comparing even
those names you mentioned. persons that may not have practiced even in Akwa Ibom or Cross River. We have very time-honored tested persons like Emma Brown. Emma Brown is from Eket. She was from Eket. And she practiced Reku and some others.
Akpandem James.
Akpandem James, who was my managing editor at a point in time. We have a couple of them who have done well. Even though we don't celebrate our heroes, I look forward to when we begin. I wish the NUJ could bring up these names. Posthumous award, service award, and all of that, and even those who are present. Now, the comparison you're asking me to do, it's 2 hours cannot take that question, but I'll do my best to confine it to seen as a death sentence, because in the military era, you can't publish the truth. You can't even seek to know the truth. So once you become a journalist, you only know when you leave your house. You don't know whether you're coming back alive. So your wife, your family have their hearts in their mouth, not hoping that you will return alive or safe. Those days, the NSO, the National Security Organization, they were usually jealous, envious, and angry that you were a step ahead of them. But these days we have, and without gadgets, so we didn't really have a lot of equipment to assist. But these days was a prose. I just wrote a very lengthy prose, beautiful language, and the man cancelled and cancelled and cancelled in 3 paragraphs, 3 pages I had. He gave me cumulatively 1 line in 3 paragraphs, and cumulatively I didn't have up to 100 words. And then he showed me a lot of things. These days people don't learn. People don't want to learn. You have a friend who owns a media house. You just join them, and they are not paid. Let me also say one very sad thing which impinges on freedom of the press. Most of them.
Obviously so.
I know Mr. Tony Afia will pay. Most media houses don't pay. In fact, there's a particular media house, I don't want to mention the name here, which will tell you, I've given you a platform for you to earn money, to make money. The man opened shop also at South Africa. They chased him away. He tried it in the US. They chased him away. So in Nigeria, free, cheap labor, persons who have graduated, they'll say, oh, and politicians, they love this issue of blackmail. You approach them and say, look, I have this fact against you, and I need your own side of the story. So very simple, I need your own side of the story. I say, my brother, take it easy. This thing could have happened to anybody. And you are paid money to kill the story. Killing the story has made a lot of journalists very well. They don't have a pay advice. They don't have a salary. But they operate like producers, not even as journalists. There's a difference between the producer and the journalist. The journalist is trained to purvey information from point A to point B in the most ethical manner without getting himself killed. No, so but the producer comes, looks at the program, and try to tinker with the program to make it presentable and good and attractive, to attract traffic and to attract adverts to the station or to the newspaper. So the NUJ, the Guild of Editors, NAWOJ, and all the bodies associated with putting professionalism into the practice must wake up. They must come up.
I think that's quite a wake-up call, for all these bodies. But let's look at something very critical before we even begin to look at, the way forward for good journalism in the country and also press freedom. When you even talk about something like investigative journalism, we find out that is totally has been on the neck of several government officials digging up information that hitherto was not in public domain. And you find out that even that David Hundayin is not in the country, doing this, because obviously for fear of his life, he decided to stay outside the country. Now, journalism as the...
Well, journalism, with respect to investigative journalism, is a very expensive thing to do. Very few media houses, if there are any in this country, are ready to pay. There's a certain Kevin Simon who does investigative journalism here, and it digs up facts which are not in the public domain, and those are facts that are actually in public documents. He now looks up those facts and goes out to investigate. Is it true that in the 2022 budget, other local governments, and you discover that they actually approved the money, they received the money, they had the money, and did not construct that thing. So he brings it out and shows. David, and then they have made the country very unsafe for him. And every investigative journalist is fighting for his life. They are doing their best to say the truth they can, but those truths which are actually embellished in facts first, to hunt you down or chase you out of the country. So journalism is as unsafe as that, because investigative journalism, which will help us in the issue of agenda setting, the fourth function of journalists, to bring up an agenda that we can all discuss. They are killing it. And that brings me, permit me, to investigative journalism hangs on rights. Rights is not just political rights. You have social rights, you have cultural rights, you have economic rights. And when people steal money from the public till and don't do what they're supposed to do, like what is happening to Ekweremadu today, if he had used the money at his disposal to build a standard medical facility, he wouldn't have gone out to do that kidney transplant. He wouldn't. And it comes back to them. So journalism generally, particularly investigative journalism, has to do with a world of rights. And we're saying shaping a future of rights, using freedom of speech, expression as a driver for all other human rights, if are actually violating every other human rights, known and unknown. That's what we are doing. So we must urge the government, using this medium to urge the government, allow journalists space to do their work. If you don't want to be investigated and for the outcome of the investigation to look nasty, then you must do the right thing.
Do we even think that it is possible to attain that height in this country?
It's possible. It's possible. It's possible because it will get to a point in this country where someone is given appointment. He will say, no, I can't do it. I don't need it. If we do the right thing, I tell you the truth, in fact, more people are waiting outside. Those who are waiting to steal public funds, who are outsiders to come, join the cartel to steal public funds, destroy public infrastructure, kill education, send their children outside the country to get the best education at our cost, and give them every good thing, but they leave you here. Have you ever heard of, in your recent working years, have you heard of employment advert into CBN or NNPC?
We've never seen.
They are employing.
We've never seen.
They are employing. They are employing people from a certain ethno-religious group. Ethno-religious group. But they won't employ Janice. They won't employ Janice Koba. Oh yeah, no, they won't. Your names are your first disqualification.
Their pulse as to how they feel. For instance, bringing it back home to Akwa Ibom again, feeling their pulse as regards how they feel, doing journalism here in Akwa Ibom State. Like we asked earlier about how free journalists are in Akwa Ibom. Let's talk about evolving and exporting journalists from Akwa Ibom to other parts of the world. Like you said, we have a tradition, quote unquote, of not celebrating ours. And when recognition of journalists, the event that is going to be held this May, I think, we've been advertising it. So let's talk about
like an awards from
awards for journalists,
paid awards or based on merit.
That's what we don't know, but obviously it will be
that's based on merit.
Because most of these awards they come with gratis.
Yeah.
He that pays the piper dictates the tune. And if someone's ready to bankroll the award for 10-20 million, he will choose who you give the awards to actually accentuate his objective. On merit, we have a couple of them. We have Ekemini Simon, for instance, who is doing well. We have Cletus Ukbom, who is doing very well. We have a couple of them who are actually doing well in investigation, in entertainment, in political reporting, and all of that. We have to look at them. Then the veterans category. What did these persons do? And what are they doing today to actually promote journalism? A couple of persons have left the mainstream media, retired per se, to having their own media house. And journalism, we may not have fared well, but I think there's room for improvement.
Okay. Would that be your parting words, or if you have one more word of encouragement to journalists out there today?
Well, I don't have any word of encouragement for journalists. I say, may your roads be rough, because as your roads are rough, that is how you become stronger and better. But always remember to ask questions. Don't fail to ask questions. Those questions you ask help to promote human rights in our society.
Yeah, definitely. We want to say a very big thank you to you, Barrister Clifford Thomas, a lawyer, seasoned journalist, and of course, coordinator Akwa Ibom Human Rights community here. Thank you so much for your time this morning. It's always a pleasure having you on set with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite, and whenever I'm invited to come, I will come. I pray that the road to Golgotha, which is your road, should be fixed by the incoming government, perhaps in the first 100 days.
Yeah, serious prayers, I must say, because yes, you know, anytime we want to talk about our mental health, we say that the road is not doing well to our mental health at all.
The practice of journalists in this climb.
Yeah, thank you to all of you out there that joined us on the conversation this morning. Thank you for choosing Spectrum Television, and of course choosing Rise and Shine. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow for another edition of Rise and Shine. My name is Janice Covington. Have a great day.
My name is Uyai, and I can thank to everyone who was a part of the show and to the production crew. We absolutely appreciate you. Great time, great conversation. Bye-bye.